You don't belong there. That's all Knox Wilder said when Ivy Quinn asked why she wasn't invited to the company retreat. Then came the smirk, the room full of laughter, and his final blow. Just clean up the meeting room when we're done. That's more your lane. 3 days later, at a private island resort, Knox stood frozen. Damian Brooks, the manager, stepped forward. Welcome, Ms. Ivy Quinn. The presidential villa is ready, under your name, of course. Your father sends his regards. The silence hit like thunder. She wasn't just some quiet employee. She was the owner's daughter. And she was done being overlooked. Stay. Her real story starts now. Ivy Quinn blended in. Loose grey sweaters. Sensible flats. Hair pulled into the same low bun every morning. At first glance, no one would guess she held an MBA from Wharton. Fewer still would believe she graduated top of her class, turning down a fast-track executive seat at her family's investment firm. I want to earn it, she once told her father. Not inherit it. So she chose Summit Strategies, an agency known more for its flash than its substance. A place where perception mattered more than performance. And perception wasn't kind to Ivy. Nice sweater, Ivy. You buy that in bulk. Knox Wilder's voice rang out across the open office one Tuesday morning. His tie was Hermes. His smile, razor sharp. Or did the Goodwill have a sale on invisibility cloaks? Laughter. Polished shoes shifting. No one met her eyes. Ivy didn't flinch. She simply slid a folder across the glass conference table, her latest proposal for the Covaris Hotels campaign. 3 months of research. Customer mapping, influencer partnerships, a complete digital revamp. Quiet brilliance, distilled into 20 pages. Knox skimmed it lazily. Then turned to Camilla, a junior associate, with a Chanel brooch and 0 original ideas. Camilla, didn't you suggest this exact approach last week? Camilla blinked. Then smiled. Yes. I think I did. Ivy watched her name vanish under someone else's lipstick. Again. This was how it always went. Knox had his circle, the Golden Team, as they jokingly called themselves. Camilla. Jake. Tyler. Young, stylish, loud. They drank champagne at client dinners and took selfies in the lobby. Ivy was never invited. She didn't care. At least, she told herself she didn't. Maybe if you wore real shoes once in a while, Jake had muttered once, passing her in the hallway, people would remember you exist. She'd laughed under her breath, turned back to her spreadsheet, and finished the pitch that eventually won the firm a 6-figure contract. No one mentioned her name in the press release. Richard Ivy Quinn saw it, though. Her father read the industry article that praised Summit's bold new digital strategy. He recognized his daughter's fingerprints in every line. He didn't say anything. Just sent a text that night. Proud of you, I'll keep going. She replied with a single heart emoji. Then turned off her phone and opened another Excel tab. There was power in staying quiet. In being underestimated. But even silence has its limit. And Ivy Quinn was getting close. The smell of overbrewed coffee clung to the meeting room like a bad decision. Ivy sat near the end of the table, as she always did, between the ficus plant and the recycling bin. The neutral zone, as Camilla once called it, half laughing as she tossed her designer bag onto the head seat. Knox entered like he owned the air. Good morning, my beautiful beasts, he announced, sliding his sunglasses onto the table. His Rolex caught the light, just as the projector flickered to life. A slideshow burst onto the wall behind him. Solstice Cove Resort 2025 Elite Team Retreat. Golden beaches. Floating breakfasts. Infinity pools. It looked like a billionaire's honeymoon brochure. Knox grinned. Now, I know some of you have been dying to know where we're headed this year. Drum roll. A few people actually drummed on the table, eager, fake excited. Solstice Cove. Private Island. Ultra Luxe. Invitation only. Gasps. Cheers. Tyler let out a no way. Like he'd just won the lottery. Ivy stared at the screen. Her breath caught, but not because of the view. She knew that beach. She'd built sandcastles on it as a kid. Learned to dive in that ocean. Solstice Cove wasn't just some 5-star getaway. It was her father's crown jewel. Knox turned back to the group, pacing slowly like a performer who knew he had the audience wrapped around his cufflinks. Now, I had to make some tough calls. This retreat's for our creme de la creme. People who look the part. Live the brand. We're building dreams here, folks, not spreadsheets. People laughed. Ivy scanned the printed guest list. Jake. Camilla. Tyler. Even Rhonda from design. Her name wasn't there. She raised her voice gently. Knox, I think. He cut her off without even looking. Let me guess. You didn't see your name. He turned, slow and smug, as the others leaned in. Ivy, come on. Solstice Cove has a dress code stricter than your entire closet. The room chuckled, unsure if it was okay to laugh too hard. We're talking designer resort wear, linen sets, statement swimwear. And you wear the same oatmeal cardigan every day like it's your emotional support animal. Camilla stifled a giggle behind her iced latte. Jake leaned back, arms crossed, nodding like Knox had just said something profound. Look, Knox continued, you do solid back-end work. No one's denying that. But image matters. Clients want to see success. They want to feel luxury. And frankly, Ivy. He looked her up and down. You give public library on a rainy Tuesday. That one landed. The room laughed harder this time. The sound wasn't loud, it was sharp. Targeted. It filled the cracks of the room like smoke. Ivy didn't blink. She sat with her hands folded in her lap, spine straight, eyes locked on Knox. But her jaw was tight. Too tight. Knox leaned on the edge of the table now, satisfied. So yeah, we'd love to have you at the Monday prep meeting. And hey, maybe help tidy up the conference room when we wrap. He winked. You're great at logistics. That was the breaking point. Not the insult. The wink. Because it wasn't about her work. It never had been. It was about how she didn't play the game. Didn't wear the armor of luxury. Didn't parade herself around with false polish and curated selfies. And because of that, Knox had written her off. Worse, he thought he was right. Across the room, no one spoke. The silence wasn't heavy. It was complicit. Ivy scanned the faces around the table, people who had taken credit for her ideas, people who praised her in private, but never stood up for her in public. No one met her gaze. Not one. And in that moment, something shifted. A soft click inside her. Like a lock turning. She stood slowly. Smoothed the sleeve of her emotional support cardigan. Collected the handouts from the table one by one, her movements calm. Careful. Precise. She didn't look at Knox. Not yet. But as she passed him, she paused. Just enough for him to notice. I'll make sure everything's cleaned up. Her voice was steady. Wouldn't want anything to reflect poorly on us. Then she walked out. No raised voice. No tears. Just silence. The kind that warns of a storm coming. That night, Ivy didn't cry. She didn't scroll through emails or write an angry resignation letter. She didn't replay Knox's words in her head, not because they didn't sting, but because she no longer gave them power. Instead, she opened her phone and dialed a number she hadn't used in over a year. The line picked up before the second ring. A warm, familiar voice answered. "Elle?" She stared out her apartment window, eyes fixed on the quiet city below. "Dad," she said, calm and clear. "I need you to reserve the presidential villa at Solstice Cove. Under my name." A pause. "Of course. Everything okay?" Ivy closed her eyes. "Just for a second. It will be. But one more thing. Don't tell anyone I'm your daughter." "Not yet." Another pause. This time longer. Then came Richard Ivy Quinn's quiet response, the kind only a father like him could give. "Understood." By sunrise, Ivy was already in motion. She emailed a discreet request to Maison Renee, a private styling firm in Manhattan known for dressing European royalty and women who hated red carpets, but loved revenge. A team responded within minutes. The brief was simple. Subtle power. No logos. No sparkle. Everything custom. She arrives Thursday. She booked a Gulfstream G650 under an alias. It would depart from a private airstrip in Teterboro, no paparazzi, no press, no digital footprint. Next, she called Damian Brooks, general manager of Solstice Cove. He'd known her since she was 12 and tried to mix pina coladas in the staff kitchen. "Miss Ivy Quinn," Damian greeted, formal but familiar. "What can I do for you?" "I'll be arriving before the summit strategies team," she said. "Please ensure they're unaware of who I am until I say otherwise." A soft chuckle. "Planning something dramatic?" "No," she replied. "Something surgical." "As always," Damian said. "The villa will be ready. The staff will follow your lead." Ivy hung up, then opened a fresh moleskin notebook. She wrote down names. Knox. Camilla. Jake. Tyler. Then beside each name, she noted exactly what they'd taken, and how she planned to give it back. But not with insults. With precision. Over the next 48 hours, Ivy orchestrated every move like a symphony. Custom fittings arrived at her apartment. A floor-length black slip dress with architectural lines. A soft cream trench coat with stitched initials inside the cuff. A pair of silent, deadly Louboutin slingbacks. No rhinestones. No flash. Only edge. Her stylist, Leah, raised an eyebrow as she zipped up the last look. "This isn't just fashion," she said. "This is a weapon." Ivy smirked in the mirror. "No," she replied. "It's a warning." On Thursday morning, the jet lifted into the clouds, cutting through the sky like a blade. Ivy sipped green tea in silence. No emails. No distractions. Just ocean and cloud and purpose. By the time the summit strategies team landed, chatty, overdressed, giddy with their own self-importance, Ivy was already there. The presidential villa had been stocked with fresh orchids. A chilled bottle of her favorite wine waited on the marble bar. No one had seen her yet. Not even Knox. But they would. Very soon. The heat struck first. Not from the sun, but from the atmosphere. Solstice Cove Resort didn't welcome. It humbled. The summit strategies team stepped out of the black shuttle van and collectively fell silent. Ahead of them, The entrance stretched like a vision from a billionaire's dream. Arched bamboo walkways, glass walkways floating over koi ponds, a chandelier of cascading seashells spinning gently in the wind. Holy, Camilla gasped, eyes wide behind oversized Gucci sunglasses. This place makes the Maldives look like a Motel 6. This isn't on TripAdvisor, right? Jake muttered. Nope, Tyler replied, already filming on his phone. Private listing. I looked it up once. You have to know someone. The air was fragrant with lemongrass and something impossible to name. Staff in ivory uniforms lined the entry, heads bowed, still as statues. At the front stood a tall man with salt and pepper hair and a tailored white blazer. Damian Brooks, General Manager and Gatekeeper of Secrets. He stepped forward, warm but composed. Good afternoon, Summit Strategies. Welcome to Solstice Cove. Polite claps. Nervous shuffles. Damian waited, glancing subtly at his watch, before lifting his chin. We are especially honored, he announced, to welcome the daughter of Solstice's founder today, Ms. Ivy Quinn. Dead. Silence. Camilla's phone slipped from her hand. Tyler blinked, so hard his sunglasses fell crooked on his nose. Jake turned around as if hoping there was another Ivy standing behind them. Then they saw her. She stepped out from the far wing of the main villa, Ivy, wrapped in a soft dove-gray silk trench coat, sunglasses in one hand, heels echoing against the polished stone. Not flashy. Not loud. But undeniable. Knox's mouth parted slightly. The disbelief hit him like whiplash. That can't be. Damian walked to meet her, bowed slightly, and extended a hand. Ms. Ivy Quinn. As requested, your villa is ready. Everything is as you specified. Ivy shook his hand with a gentle nod, then turned toward the Summit team. The pause stretched like a violin string pulled tight. Then she spoke. I hope the accommodations meet your standards. You're his daughter. Camilla finally croaked. Ivy tilted her head, eyes calm. That's right. Why didn't you say anything? Jake blurted. Ivy's gaze slid over to him. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I didn't think my last name should matter more than my work. Another silence, this time heavier. Knox cleared his throat. Well, Ivy, I think we can all agree this is a pleasant surprise. Surprise, yes, she said smoothly. Pleasant. We'll see. She turned to Damian. Room assignments, please. He opened a leather folder. Jake Walton, Ocean View Suite. Camilla Jones, Infinity Loft. Tyler Crane, Lagoon Bungalow. The team began to relax. Grin. Whisper. Maybe they were safe. Then came the knife. Knox Wilder. He straightened his collar reflexively. Yes? Staff quarters, cabin 4C, Damian read, without inflection. Shared restroom. No air conditioning. Knox blinked. That can't be right. Damian glanced at Ivy. Then back at Knox. That's what was requested, sir. Requested by, he stopped. Looked at Ivy. She met his eyes squarely. We wanted everyone to be placed according to contribution, she said softly. Those who've done the real work deserve real rest. Knox's jaw worked. This is personal. Ivy took a step forward, her voice still calm. No, Knox. This is professional. You humiliated me, he hissed under his breath. Funny, she replied, that's exactly how I felt. 3 days ago. She didn't wait for a response. She simply turned, the long hem of her coat sweeping across the marble like a quiet declaration of war. Her heels tapped the rhythm of control. She didn't need to raise her voice. She didn't need to remind anyone who she was. She had already changed the atmosphere. And this time, no one laughed. Knox paced outside the villa like a man walking into a courtroom where he was both the defendant and the judge. The sun had dipped low, casting long shadows across the marble paths of Solstice Cove. Waves lapped gently in the distance, but his mind was loud. Agitated. Humiliated. He rehearsed what he'd say. He'd start with "This wasn't personal. Maybe we all make mistakes." He even considered a half-hearted joke, "So nice villa." But none of it felt right. Because for once, he wasn't in control. He knocked. A moment passed. Then the door opened. Ivy stood framed in soft evening light, still in that effortless silk gown, barefoot now, wine glass in hand. No anger in her face. No tension in her shoulders. Just stillness. It rattled him more than shouting would have. "Knox," she said simply. He cleared his throat. "Ivy. Can I come in?" She stepped aside. Not a gesture of welcome, more like allowance. The villa interior was calm. Minimalist. Monochrome. Much like Ivy herself. He stood awkwardly near the doorway while she moved with quiet ease to the lounge, placing her wine glass on a marble tray. No offer for him to sit. "I assume you're not here to admire the view," she said. Knox shoved his hands in his pockets. "Look, I came to apologize." She didn't reply. Just looked at him, expression unreadable, but eyes sharp. He shifted. "About what I said. In the meeting. The retreat." It was out of line. A soft breath escaped Ivy's nose. Not quite a laugh. "Out of line," she repeated. He winced. "Okay, it was bad. I know that now." She walked to a side table and picked up a sleek black folder. "Do you know what else was bad?" she asked, opening it. The Covaris campaign strategy. March 2023. She flipped to the first page. "You presented it. But the original draft was mine." Another flip. Revello pitch. "You deleted my name from the final deck." Another. Client reviews from 3 major accounts. Guess whose contributions never made it into the performance reports? Knox swallowed. "Ivy, 3 years, Knox." Her voice dropped into something quieter. 3 years of ideas taken, efforts ignored, and credit handed off to people who knew how to order the right cocktails and wear the right shoes. She closed the folder. Her hands were steady. "I've documented it all." He stared at the leather-bound folder like it might bite him. "You're going to send it to HR?" "No," she replied. A flicker of hope crossed his face. "I'm sending it to the board." His smile died. She stepped closer, not menacing, just unignorable. "But I'm giving you one chance." "One." Knox's voice came low. "What do you want?" "Change." She laid it out like a contract. "You clean house. The toxic hires. Gone. The performance reviews. Transparent. No more favors. No more velvet circles of champagne and whispers. You rebuild the department with fairness as the standard, not fashion." He looked at her, and for a moment, the silence stretched. Not in defiance. In reflection. The smugness was gone. The bravado had dissolved somewhere between the beach and this conversation. What was left? was a man staring at the line between pride and ruin. "You'd really blow up your own department?" he asked. Ivy didn't blink. "I'm not blowing it up, Knox. I'm saving it." He nodded slowly. Once. Twice. Then finally sat down. "No more pacing. No more pretending. You know," he said quietly, "I used to think people like you weren't dangerous. Because we're quiet. Because you never fought back." Ivy tilted her head. "We do. Just not the way you expect." For the first time in years, Knox Wilder didn't feel like the smartest person in the room. But he did feel something else. Respect. The boardroom felt different. Not because of the new lighting Ivy had installed, or the plants now lining the windows. It was the silence, the good kind. The kind that follows thoughtful discussion, not forced compliance. And in the center of it all sat Knox Wilder. Suit still sharp. Hair still perfect. But something was gone now. The smirk. The need to dominate. He listened more. Spoke less. And when he did, it was with the weight of someone who meant it. Across from him, Ivy sat poised, tablet in hand, flipping through quarterly data. But she wasn't just Ivy from marketing anymore. She was Ms. Ivy Quinn, major shareholder. Strategic consultant. Quiet architect of a cultural overhaul. And the one who kept Knox on his toes. "Camilla's leading the Greenlight campaign next quarter," Knox said, glancing at the agenda. "She's earned it." Ivy didn't look up. "She has." He smiled, just slightly. "I'm still adjusting to not being the smartest person in the room." She raised an eyebrow. "You never were." He laughed. Genuinely. Then quickly moved on. 2 months had passed since her father purchased 20% of Summit Strategies. Ivy hadn't flaunted it. She hadn't even requested a new title. But her presence had changed everything. She sat in on hiring panels. She restructured the mentorship program. She pushed for transparency in promotions, blind reviews for project evaluations. And little by little, the good ones rose. "I used to think I had to keep my name quiet," she told HR in one meeting. "Now, I want to use it to open doors for the people who deserve to walk through." Knox noticed things now. The way junior staff smiled around Ivy, not out of fear, but relief. The way meetings ended earlier, because people didn't posture anymore. The way he started sleeping better, now that his kingdom wasn't built on sand. One late evening, after a successful client pitch, he caught her alone in the hallway. She was typing something on her phone, leaning against the wall. "Can I take you to dinner?" he asked, tone careful. "Not professionally." She looked up. Her face was unreadable, but her eyes, they were softer now. "You sure you won't judge my outfit?" He smiled. "Only if you judge my emotional growth." She slid her phone into her bag. "Pick a place with good lighting. I want to see if you're serious." Weeks passed. They didn't rush. Didn't label it. There were long walks after meetings. Jokes in the elevator. Quiet understanding over coffee breaks. Tension shifted into rhythm. Respect turned into something warmer. Something real. And one morning, Ivy found a small envelope on her desk. No signature. Just her name, written in Knox's precise handwriting. Inside, a handwritten letter. "Ivy. Thank you for staying quiet when it was harder to stay strong. Thank you for fighting back in a way I couldn't ignore. Thank you for proving that real class isn't inherited, it's built. Walked. Chosen. And thank you for reminding me that respect isn't given to the loudest voice. It's given to the one who earns it in silence. K. Ivy folded the letter slowly, a faint smile on her lips. She didn't need a crown. Or a stage. Because now, when she walked into the room, they already knew who she was. And more importantly, so did she. Not every victory needs a microphone. Not every battle needs to be loud to be won. Ivy Quinn never raised her voice. She never stormed out. Never demanded the room. She became the room. And when the dust settled, when the old ways crumbled and the polished masks fell away, it wasn't the loudest voice that remained. It was the one who had spoken the least. But every word had weight. She didn't need applause. Or credit. Or revenge. She just needed to walk in her own quiet truth. And let that be loud enough for the world to hear. Real class doesn't beg to be noticed. It arrives without noise. And still makes everyone turn their head. Because when you're good enough, you don't have to raise your voice. Your presence is the only thing that needs to speak.